A lazy summer Sunday in the lakes area of New Hampshire, the perfect setting for reflection and admiration of all the gentle buzzing, not just of the bees, but of these. The Pep Boys IRL puts its spin on the New England countryside. To date in '98, 4 races, 4 winners. Stewart, Sharp, Eddie Cheever, and Billy Boat are all very close in the point standings, but not as close as last year's finish.
Goes to the high side. There goes the tail off the corner. Nose the tail. Who's going to win it? By a far.
Today, join us in the historic woodlands of New Hampshire to find out which driver will answer the bell. This New England countryside, the site today for the lightning action, the sweet thunder of 26 open wheel, open cockpit, 1,500-pound racing cars and their stars battling for over $1 million. Moments ago, Ralph Shaheen talked to the leader of the pack.
Billy Boat got his first Pep Boys Indy Racing League victory just at the last race on the tour at Texas Motor Speedway. Today, Billy, will that momentum carry you from that high bank victory on this flat racetrack here at New Hampshire?
Anytime you can be coming off a victory, I think it definitely helps your momentum and helps the whole confidence of the race team. You know, this whole Conseco team is pumped up. We're ready to go.
For Billy Boat, his second pole of 1998. To Dick Berggren.
A month ago, Eddie Cheever started in the middle of the field at the Indianapolis 500, and he won that one. He starts in the middle of the field today, but this is a whole nother deal. This is a tough racetrack to pass on. How do you get by all these guys and still have the wheels pointing straight at the end, Eddie?
I've been working on that one all morning, and I'm not quite sure how you're going to do it. But this is one of those courses where you got to take care of your equipment as you do all of them. But it's probably the shortest oval that we race on with the tightest corners. So where you really work your tires very hard and your engines very hard and your brakes. So you've got to make sure you have something for the last final sprint.
Drivers say this is the toughest racetrack and the one that favors the best drivers.
Average speed of over 160 miles per hour per lap, 200 of those laps upcoming, and we're just about set for the command to put this race underway at New Hampshire International Speedway. With that command, we're ready to go here at New Hampshire International Speedway. Hello, everyone. Ken Squire with you. And as we look down over this field, everyone talks about 1979 and Daytona's flag-to-flag coverage as being first. Well, that was the first 500, but years before that, CBS was bringing you flag-to-flag coverage of Indianapolis car racing at tracks like Trenton, New Jersey, and Texas World Speedway. Those events are memories in a scrapbook now, but there's a new look to Indianapolis car racing, the IRL. And this weekend here at New Hampshire, we'll be bringing you this event, and 3 weeks hence on the Monster Mile at Dover, Delaware. Such great action. Just no margin here for mistakes or miscalculations or misjudgments at 190 miles per hour down these main straightaways. To call the action for you, the former winner of the Indianapolis 500, Tom Sneva and Mike Joy.
Thanks, Ken, and hello, everybody. Well, most of the drivers in this series got their start on the short ovals of America. And, Tom, this is going to look like one of them today. Unlike Charlotte, Atlanta, Texas, Indianapolis, where they run flat out all the way around, this track's really going to be different.
Well, there's really two keys to running up front here, Mike, and being competitive. It's handling and how they work the traffic. Now, this is why the drivers like this kind of racetrack. Handling, you don't have to have the most horsepower, but if you can get the car to get around the corner, the guy that can jump back into the throttle the quickest on the exit of each corner is going to go to the front. Traffic, you've got to be able to anticipate and predict what's going to happen with that traffic in front of you before you actually get there.
Going to be a tough race for these drivers over this 200-mile distance. Some of the folks will have an eye on today. Robbie Buell is the defending champion of this race.
Scott Sharp, a winner already, a co-leader in this series with the Kelly Racing Team, a new team this year. Had some great success, and I think they're going to get stronger as the season goes on.
Tony Stewart in his last 9 races, 2 wins, but also 4 times he's failed to finish, often while leading. The points are close. Stewart and Sharp are tied for the point lead. Billy Boat, after his pole-winning performance here, picks up 3. He's only 2 points back than Jeff Ward and Davey Hamilton. Boat starts on the pole today. It's his 3rd pole in the last 6 IRL races. Billy Boat was also the pole sitter for the Indy 500. And Jeff Ward, the former motocrosser, makes his 2nd front row start this year. Buddy Lazier will share the 2nd row with co-point leader Scott Sharp. In row 3, Scott Goodyear and Tony Stewart, the Orlando winner. Row 4, 2-time Indy winner Ari Lyondike with Kenny Breck, who is 3rd at Texas. Raul Boisel and John Paul Jr. share the 5th row. Eddie Cheever, this year's Indy winner, and Robbie Buell, defending champ of this race. Mark Dismore, who led it Orlando, and Marco Greco, who was on pole here last year. Donnie Beechler and Stefan Gregoire in row number 8. In the 9th row, Eliseo Salazar and Robbie Unser. Row 10, Dr. Jack Miller and Jack Hewitt. J.J. Yaley shares the 11th row with Davey Hamilton. Disappointed in qualifying, as were Buzz Calkin, Sam Schmidt, Brian Tyler, and Stan Waddle spun and crashed in his qualifying effort.
Chassis dominated by Dallara here. Most people feel they're a little bit better on the high-speed ovals. The jury's still out on these short ovals. G-Force is 9. The Riley Scott, only 2 of them, but still in the development stage. Engines, the series been dominated by Aurora. The Nissan Infinity guys have been working real hard. They've closed the gap, but they're not quite there yet, most people think. Tires, Goodyear's up front to start this thing today. Firestone won the race last year. Let's see what happens.
Green flag. Billy Boat, that's Jeff Ward in orange on the outside, and they're 4 wide approaching turn 1. That won't work for long.
They're still 2 abreast, exiting the turn.
And it's Ward with the lead. Jeff Ward well out in front of Billy Boat. Up comes Scott Sharp in that red, yellow, and black machine, challenged by Buddy Lazier, the purple car to the outside.
Here comes Tony Stewart.
The number 1 in yellow, and 2 cars are in the wall in turn 4.
Move out, pace car.
Actually, Mike Groff was one of those.
Turn 1.
Kenny Breck in one of Foyt's cars.
14 to turn 4.
That's the voice of Mel Harder,
Car
IRL
10
control
was
official.
involved. They might want to check it. Car
That
10
team is,
smoking.
that frequency monitored by the teams as well as all the officials and rescue crews. Smoke from one car, heavy smoke.
That's John Paul in the 10 car who was involved in that situation. So we don't know if he brushed the wall. There's
Jack
the
Miller.
doctor.
Jack Miller has spun to a halt as well. So 3 cars are involved in this opening lap incident. Miller is off on the back straightaway. This is Kenny Breck, A.J. Foyt's driver, who did connect the wall at turn 4. We're also told that Jack Hewitt spun on the pace lap but recovered and rejoined the field. A.J. Foyt, owner of Kenny Breck and Billy Boat's cars. Now Miller was not involved in the spin, Jack Miller, but rather he slowed and pulled off the course at the exit of the road course that's used here by the SCCA sports cars and the motorcycles.
That's one of the Infinity powered cars, so we're not sure what kind of problem Jack had.
21st at Indy. AJ had a little treat today, hopped in one of those AJ Watson Indy Roadsters that were here for the vintage celebration this weekend and took a few laps with a big grin. That grin is gone with Kenny Breck's car in the wall, and now it's going to roll down toward pit lane. Not heavily damaged, it appears.
It doesn't, but you noticed on the wall right behind the car there was a tire mark, so he did touch the wall, and it looked like it was probably with the left rear, but again, the car is rolling. Looks like he's got a bunch of positive camber on that left front tire. There's the wall mark, obviously. So he's had some contact.
And Tom, it looked as if the right rear tire, right there, you could see that right rear tire was way towed in after that contact with the wall. We'll see if they can get him repaired. John Paul is out of the car. John Paul Jr., the former IMSA GT champion, and Kenny Breck's car is pushed into the garage area.
So again, these cars, unlike a NASCAR situation, it doesn't take much contact to cause problems with these cars.
Dick Berggren.
I'm with John Paul. What happened out there?
Well, we're just trying to have a good race for Vision Air and Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning. We got a pretty good start. Got to run on the outside of Kenny Breck. Running side by side with him like the highway, and he managed to spin out on the coming down for the start of the second lap. Just tagged me and got me into the wall. I would have missed him if he'd have just kept on spinning down the bottom, but he just got up into the wing and hit me on the wheel, and it pushed it over into the wall.
And in the drivers' meeting this morning, they concentrated on the start of the race. They said this is exactly what they did not want to see happen. Let's go to the garage and Ralph.
Well, I've caught up with Kenny Breck. They've just pushed his car back into the garage area. Kenny, what happened?
It was just purely I can't hear.
What happened, Kenny?
It was a mistake on my part. I spun with cold tires at the start of the race, in the second corner or fourth corner, whatever, and just got it sideways and spun it.
So a victim of cold tires, a crew going to work on the back end of the car. There is fluid leaking out from where the gearbox is at. They're going to hopefully get this thing fixed and back out. But Tom Sneve, as you know, cold tires can be very tricky for a driver.
Well, they really can, and especially here for whatever reasons after the modifieds run. They had some races this morning, and it adversely affects the racetrack. Again, it caught Kenny out. A lot of the teams, there's an option tire that Goodyear has here, a little softer tire on the right side of the car. Most of the teams are using them, but again, it wasn't enough to save Kenny in this situation.
So Kenny Breck is in the garage. John Paul Jr. is out of his car. Jeff Ward is the leader at New Hampshire. We'll be right back. Seven laps complete at New Hampshire International Speedway. Kenny Breck and John Paul Jr. out of the race after a turn 4 crash, with Breck losing control here.
Here's everybody looking at the situation, trying to figure it out. This is all John Paul's team. John Paul on the left. There's AJ. AJ's the one on the left.
And teams up and down pit road looking at telemetry on those computer monitors and the scoring monitor to the right side of the screen.
The telemetry is unbelievable. What they can tell about the car when it's on the racetrack in real time.
Now here's Robbie Buell's car. There's an interesting switch here, Tom. It's right here. It's a switch there that controls the fuel mixture. It looks like little dots there, but actually those are letters, and the letters today are H, A, F, and G. And I'm thinking, I can't make any heads or tails out of that. And the crew told me, you're not supposed to. If we tell Robbie, go to position G with the fuel mixture, we don't want anybody to know what that means. We change the letters every race.
Well, what's interesting, there's 7 or 8 different settings, and it's not only fuel, Mike, it also can control the spark advance in the motor. So they can do a combination of fuel. It's just amazing how they can program these things. It changes the fuel mixture as well as the timing in the engine.
You're watching from Robbie Buell. That's the Johns Manville Menard Special. And this is Scott Goodyear, the Pennzoil Panther G-Force. Carrying our Pennzoil can today. Riding through the area where the track workers are making sure is clean of debris.
There's Davey Hamilton, Mike. Again, had problems qualifying, qualified towards the back. He actually had a right rear tire that was flat when he went out to qualify. And thusly, Davey's in the back.
The whole track is green, so keep that.
And you're on board with Scott Sharp, the 1996 winner of this race, native of East Norwalk, Connecticut. So this makes it his home IRL track. And here's J.J. Yaley in the Quaker State Menards, another Dallara. You hear the noise a little different? That's the Infinity engine.
Doesn't look like they're sleeping in
All
anymore.
but 2 of the cars in this race running the old Zorora power plant. This is the Nissan Infinity, on board with J.J. Yaley. And Eddie Cheever, the Rachel's Gourmet Potato Chips, Team Cheever Dallara, the Indy 500 champion. Had a short night in Texas. And Sam Schmidt, SCCA spec racer and Formula 2000 graduate, the Best Western Gold Crown Racing Special from LP Racing. In the pits, Stefan Gregoire.
Some kind of problem. This is a new car for these guys. They crashed at Texas, and so they leased this car from Greg Beck, actually. And so it's a new car. Not much time under their belt for this team with that piece of equipment.
And it's a different combination. The car they crashed was a G-Force. This is a Dallara chassis.
One of the ways to tell the Dallara is up there, the airbox over the driver's head. On the Dallara, it's a very round opening, that air intake, as compared to the G-Force, which is a little more triangular in shape.
Going back to green. 10 laps completed. Jeff Ward, former motocross ace.
Billy Bowden, the green car, got caught out a little bit there on that restart, a little bit slow to respond.
He also did not get a start on the initial start of the race. So Ward is your leader. Scott Sharp is up for second. Here comes Tony Stewart against Billy Bowden for third. That bright yellow car is Stewart. And he looks to the bottom of the racetrack and finds room.
Good move.
That was Tony in the yellow car. Jeff Ward leading the race, followed by Sharp.
And Sharp closes right in. Sharp, who drove for A.J. Foyt, and now it's hooked up with Kelly Racing for 1998, new team. And a spin, a car in the wall. Coming off the corner, off turn 4.
Jack Hewitt, the oldest rookie in the field, a big sprint car guy, had another opportunity from Indianapolis to come here, and again, into the wall. Doesn't look like hard impact, but you can see the skid marks that led to the trouble.
Straight away. Go ahead and move out.
46-year-old Hewitt, feature winner in a modified last Saturday night out in Ohio, and having a short ride of it here in New Hampshire.
Well, again, we talked about the thermostatic quality of these tires. It takes a lap or a couple corners to get these things up to temperature, so they get the kind of grip that these drivers are desiring.
And we didn't have these problems in the morning warm-up practice, but just before our race, the NASCAR Modified Tour ran a 125-lap feature, won by series champion Mike Stefanik over Reggie Ruggiero. But each time that these Indy cars have gone on the track following the modified, some of the drivers have had difficulty in the first few laps. So apparently there's the rubber used in the modified tires not compatible with the rubber that's being put down on the track by the IndyCar tires.
And there's been some concern about that, but again, there's quite a bit of difference from practice to the race. The adrenaline flow for the start of a race for a driver is a lot more serious than it is for a practice situation.
Jack Hewitt is out of the car. He's okay. Here's Ken Squire.
You're talking about Jack Hewitt as the oldest rookie out here at 46 and oldest member of the squad on the track. The 86 and 87 Silver Crown champion. He is of the old school. He's going to leave from New Hampshire, drive over to Indianapolis Raceway Park. Going to run a sprint car race there Wednesday. Then he's headed for a Silver Crown race on Friday at Terre Haute. Then he's got a midget race coming up on Saturday over in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. That's the old type of racer. No fancy jets, just gets in the car and heads for the next one. And let's see if he's going to get that one back on the track and in here to do a little more racing.
Contrast that with some of the younger drivers, Ken, who when they sign a major league contract has a clause forbidding them from barnstorming and running some of the shorter tracks. Let's have a look at what happened to Jack Hewitt here as this race had just gotten back under green a couple of laps ago.
Again, you can see him down low. He gets sideways on the exit of the corner. He tries to apply the power, and the horsepower in these motors and the torque and the cold tires just knock that thing loose at the back end.
At the top of your screen.
Again, top of the screen. You can see him already jumping sideways, and again, his day is done. And unfortunately, he's going to have a little more time to get to that next race than he wanted.
Winningest USAC Silver Crown driver, 20 career victories and 42 sprint victories entering the season. But Hewitt having a tough time today. So we're under caution for the second time today at New Hampshire. Jeff Ward now leading Scott Sharp, and Tony Stewart will be right back. We're back at New Hampshire, 17 laps complete, most of them under caution, the most recent for Jack Hewitt. Jeff Ward is the race leader. The IRL has a very interesting system to alert the drivers when the caution is out. Here's Ralph Shaheen.
Take a look at the circle on Eddie Cheever's dash. Inside there, you'll see two blinking yellow lights as Eddie approaches the crash scene. The lights go on, giving him a warning. And when you're traveling close to the speed of a football field per second, you need all the warning you can get. This comes from race control upstairs high above the racetrack. IRL officials flip the toggle switch, which cues all drivers' systems from Delphi, this little box right here, that there's a problem on the speedway. The box itself is mounted in the nose of the car. The little lights right here on the dash that gives the drivers an extra second of warning there's a problem on the speedway. Dick Bergman.
Fuel is becoming an issue as crews are telling their drivers conserve as much as possible. The drivers can turn down the rich lean mixture. They started with 35 gallons in the car, 95 gallons in these tanks on pit road, and the guys who are best at conserving, they may just well have a chance to win this thing on fuel mileage with so many caution flags at the beginning.
Thanks, Dick. We're going back to green.
Scott Sharp just getting inside Jeff Ward on the restart and makes the pass happen.
Scott Sharp to the lead. Babson College graduate from nearby Boston hauls down the back straightaway, and he's opened up 6 car lengths on Jeff Ward.
Here comes Scott Goodyear on the inside, the Pennzoil yellow car, getting by Buddy Lazier.
Jack Miller down pit road for a speed limit violation as we're back under green here at New Hampshire.
Inside Goodyear's car, the Pennzoil car, Scott Goodyear.
They'll pass by Miller, who is slow on the track apron and coming up to speed, having served that penalty. 20 laps complete. Scott Sharp, the 96 winner, in command. Jeff Ward, Tony Stewart is 3rd. Billy Boat, the pole sitter, is 4th.
That's Billy Boat right in front of your of Goodyear's car right here. That's who Goodyear's looking at as we speak. Oh, you can see the dust on coming off of Billy Boat. Entering the corner, he might have got up in the gray a little bit.
Looked like he took a real late entry into that corner, down to turn 1. Back straightaway into turn 3. This track is shaped like a paper clip. Long straightaways, tight turns. This is the 5th IRL race that Sharp has led. All of them have been 1 mile ovals. Graduate of SCCA's National Championship Series and then the Trans Am.
Again, they were like second quick in the practice this morning, but right now it seems like he's pulling away just a little bit from Jeff Ward.
Sharp has fastest lap of the race at over 152 miles an hour, and that, of course, will change as the fuel load lightens. His dad was a multi-time SCCA champion. Did his racing on the road courses primarily for Datsun in the 60s and 70s. For many years was a car dealer down near their hometown in Wilton, Connecticut. Sold Datsuns, Ferraris, and Volkswagen.
We got Buddy Lazier here in the purple car with the yellow numbers, and that's Ari Lyndike going inside, making a good move to get by Buddy.
So Lazier drifts back just a little bit in that purple 91. Back to 7th spot with Robbie Buell. Robbie Buell looking ahead to that same pack of cars. So that's Lazier just ahead in 91, and past him Lyndike. There they are, approaching turn 3.
Well, Buddy, the middle car in this pack, seems to be backing up a little bit. Buell's catching him. Lyndike just went by him. So, again, right at this point, he's talking to the crew, trying to let them know what that car is doing so they know what adjustments to make when they have an opportunity to stop and try to correct the situation he's facing.
They're in lap traffic already. That's Stan Waddle's black car. And caution again up toward the wall there was J.J. Yaley.
Start-finish line.
And Yaley's going to squeak across the track to pit road, but he caught the wall in turn 4.
This is the other Infiniti car. Again, it doesn't look like heavy contact because the thing's able to roll to a stop.
Stefan Gregoire, who's also on pit road, Yaley passed coming in.
Gearbox is broke. Need the rear cover in the gearbox.
You hear him talking about a rear cover in the gearbox.
Did it hit the rear box? Do we need the rear cover or not?
You heard him as he came in. He talked about Jack. I don't know if that's actually his teammate. I'm not sure if he was involved in that situation or not.
Do, Joe.
Looked like a light hit for J.J. Yaley up there in turn number 4, graduate of the midget and sprint car
The
ranks.
leaders coming in, Mike.
Well, at lap 27. The fuel window would not open till about lap 60. So
Well, a lot of these guys didn't think they could do it in 2 stops. They were going to need 3 anyway, so the window works.
Ralph is there.
Mike, they're planning on making a couple of changes to Scott Sharp. They're going to take some stagger and they're going to loosen the wing a little bit, trying to tighten him up a little bit.
Well, this is a very confident team, Tom, if they think they can come in, surrender the lead, and then work track position back to the front.
Well, the changes they made indicated he was feeling a little bit loose also. The back end of the car didn't want to stick. They took some front wing out. You saw him adjust the front wings. They were lowering the front wing to take downforce out of the front to help the back end stick harder.
On those wing end plates, you can just about see the turn screws right there on either side of that front wing to adjust the wing angle.
And they can make a big difference with small adjustments. Marco Greco.
A little bit of smoke out of his car last time by as he works his way around turn number 2. Greco, who started on the pole at Texas, drove to an 8th place finish.
Got Dick Simon helping him. Mike, Dick's been around IndyCar racing for a long time, had a lot of success with a lot of young drivers. You can see the smoke coming out of the back of that thing, so he's going to be heading for the pits.
Stefan Gregoire rejoins the race, comes out of the pits as Greco comes in. Now, J.J. Yaley's car is still being attended to.
Well, obviously, some kind of contact that they've got to make adjustments for. They've got the rear wing off the car, so they've got some kind of gearbox damage in the back.
Let's go on board with J.J. Yaley up there in turn 4.
Well, that's Jack Miller right in front of him. Jack came down on him, and it must have surprised J.J. a little bit, and the car just turned around sideways.
Refer to it as a light hit. It looked like anything but. We're back under green at 30 laps. Jeff Ward back out in front after Scott Sharp made a pit stop under this caution. So Ward leads Tony Stewart and Billy Boat. Scott Goodyear, that's
Jeff Ward there, and Tony Stewart.
And Scott Goodyear in third with Billy Boat in fourth. Second yellow car.
We've got a Goodyear car followed by a Firestone car running 1-2.
And we've got Goodyear in the third place. Scott Goodyear. Trouble again.
Billy
It's Boat, the pole sitter. Billy Boat spinning, coming off turn 2. He did not make contact with the wall, but slid down the back straightaway to the infield grass.
Well, you heard us talk about on the radio, indicated the car had been loose. I was surprised they didn't make adjustments to that car to try to take the looseness out, especially under that first yellow. But Billy,
we were told that Billy reported A.J. Foyt the car was loose, and that A.J. said crank the rear bar to full stiff, rear sway bar adjustment.
Well, again, those are onboard adjustments a driver can make to try to correct problems, but sometimes you don't catch it all. The range with the bars aren't quite as much as some of the drivers would like, and you can't catch the problem.
And the problem Billy has now is as they push him out of the grass, he has been lapped. He goes 1 lap down. Not a lot of ground clearance on these Pep Boys Indy Racing League cars, so they may roll him out or they may hook him up. And they're going to flat tow him out, it looks like.
Like A.J. says, I think we set it up for the pavement, not the grass, Billy.
Little bar there through the roll hoop that they hooked to. So now, Tony Stewart and Ari Lyondike.
Stewart's in, Lyondike.
Ari
Again,
Lyondike, the black car.
The window. It looks like a 3-stop strategy for a lot of these front runners.
Well, what it also may look like, Tom, is somewhat of NASCAR style. Instead of running a full fuel stop, they're taking advantage of the caution flags to come in and top off and make whatever adjustments are necessary.
Well, the key is adjustments. Again, they don't need to run. They could almost do it in 2 stops, so they don't need a big window. They don't have to run a lot of laps on that other segment we're talking about, and that's what some of these guys are taking advantage of.
Robbie Unser making a stop. Buzz Calkin. All under this caution period. Curious to know what kind of adjustments they're making to take advantage of what are certainly very difficult track conditions today. Billy Boat's car is going to be flat towed back around to pit road. Apparently it would not refire there in the back straightaway. We'll be right back. We're back under green as you ride with Scott Goodyear at New Hampshire International Speedway. 36 laps complete. From behind his car, looking back at Buddy Lazier. This tight, tough 1 mile oval has taken its toll in the early going. Kenny Breck, John Paul, Jack Hewitt, J.J. Yaley. All either being worked on or behind the wall, so is Stefan Gregoire.
If you listen to the engine, he tries to get back after the throttle on the exit, but he has to wait on it. He has to wait. And that's not a great feeling from a driver's standpoint. You want to go, but you can see him blurt, 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 but just won't catch him. It won't grip, and so he's got to wait on it.
Jeff Ward there in orange and white. Scott Goodyear in yellow, reeling him in.
He's not getting away. Scott, on the restart, I noticed from the Indycar that he got a little bit loose under acceleration. So he had to wait for the temperature of the tire to come up, and as it has, he's starting to close the gap on Ward.
Well, is Jeff Ward tiptoeing around after what's happened here so far?
Well, you're never tiptoeing. It feels like you are. You're always digging, you're scratching on these short ovals. You're just on the edge of control all the time. Here we're down the front straightaway inside Scott Goodyear's car. He gets out of the throttle as he enters turn 1. He's turning the car. Now he wants to get back into the throttle. And you can hear the quicker he can get back in, the faster he goes. Down the back straightaway, same thing. You roll out, getting into turn 3. You dive it to the bottom of the racetrack. You turn. Now you're trying to get back after the throttle. The longer you wait, the slower you go.
Looks like getting off the corner well then really is the key here.
For sure. The faster you can jump back in the throttle, the quicker you go to the front of the pack.
Some of the cars that made pit stops trying to work their way up through quickly. There is Scott Sharp, who made a stop under caution.
And that's Davey Hamilton right behind Sharp at this point. Hamilton started way far back. He had a bad qualifying attempt because of a tire problem.
Now this is Hamilton looking ahead to Scott Sharp, and he's catching Scott.
Well, he is, and it's real interesting. I talked to Davey before the race. A lot of the Goodyear cars are running on their option tire. There's one option tire for each manufacturer, and for Goodyear it was a little softer tire. Davey opted to go to a softer right front, the option right front, to get the front end to stick. But he's actually on the standard right rear. So that's an interesting combination. He might be the only car on the track that has a combination of option and standard on the same car.
I may not look at from a wide angle lens, but they're just one car length apart. Hamilton chasing Sharp as you look forward and back from Davey Hamilton.
Interesting scenario with a lot of the leaders taking advantage of these first couple yellows, some staying out, some opting to go.
Now it looks like Sharp is running a little higher line in the corner than Hamilton, who's right down against the yellow line.
Well, many times the line you run around the racetrack is dictated by how the chassis is handling. If it's oversteering, you run a little higher through the corner because you don't want to pinch it. It feels like if you turn it too hard, the back end's going to jump out. Conversely, if the car's understeering, you have to use up a lot of the racetrack. Dive it to the bottom and give it a lot of room to slide, the front end to slide as you exit the corner.
Another thought is that, Sharp's background is road racing. He takes that high late entry and then late apexes the corner and then drives off it, just like you would on a road race course. Up front, Jeff Ward, outside pole sitter. Here's Ralph.
Mike, Davey Hamilton runs a tire sensor, as do most of the IRL teams, and lets them know the air pressure through real-time telemetry back to the pits. Well, in yesterday's qualifying session, that sensor drained all the air out of the right rear tire on his car. He basically ran with 3 good tires and 1 flat tire. Now that he's got 4 good tires, he feels like he's going to be a contender. That 1 bad tire cost him in qualifying. He thought he had a car good enough for the pole.
Well, he just made a pass for position right there, and then a lap car. Jack Miller, again, 2 cars in 1 lap, so Davey's going to the front.
Davey Hamilton on the move, comes up to 6th place. He started 22nd today.
P6, Davey, P6. Good job. Keep it up.
6th place he's radioed.
Good job. But there's a lot of psychology going. You try to keep your driver pumped up, and you know, sometimes it doesn't take much.
Here's Tony Stewart, and Stewart, after making a pit stop, has climbed up to 10th place. Let's do a little pack racing here. Not going to make it 3 wide through there.
Well, again, traffic is a big, big factor.
Clear.
Some of those cars have wider toothbrushes than others.
Oh. Stewart on the move. Works to the outside.
Clear.
Marco Greco.
You hear spotters letting him know he's clear when he's passing cars. It's hard to see out of these things. The mirrors are real small, so it's important to have good spotting.
All right, Stewart has cleared this pack of traffic as he has now climbed up to 9th place. There's Lyondike just went through, who was with Stewart a few laps ago, but traffic has separated them. Robbie Buell has one IRL victory, and it came here a year ago. That is Davey Hamilton trying to inhale Robbie Buell.
Well, this is out the back of Buell's car, and Davey's all over him, makes a move to the inside.
5th place.
You can see right out here, Buell isn't giving up the spot easy.
But off the corner, Hamilton has the line and the position. He's up to 5th. Ward is the leader, Scott Goodyear, Buddy Lazier, Eddie Cheever, then Robbie Buell, and Davey Hamilton and Robbie Buell.
P5, you're the fastest guy out there. Keep it up, man.
You heard it from the pits. Fastest car in the racetrack. It's always fun for the driver to hear that.
Well, he 153 miles an hour on his last lap. The front 4 cars are running about 150 miles an hour.
Well, he might not have the right air pressure qualifying, but he's got the right air pressure in those Reeboks right now.
Now, here's Davey Hamilton, and he is catching Eddie Cheever at a rapid rate. Last lap for Hamilton, 154.5 miles an hour.
This is where the drivers, you have a smile on your face when you get the car working that well, and it's a relative situation compared to the competition, but it's a lot of fun when you can pass race cars on a short mile oval.
Now they had to work some traffic.
Eddie Cheever, 3 cars. Eddie goes to the inside.
And they get past Sam Schmidt without incident. Now Hamilton picks up the chase again off turn 2.
Well, you can see how he picked up the throttle a lot quicker than Eddie did, and it was able to him to beat him down the straightaway and into the next corner. Uh-oh, we got fires.
From your leader, Jeff Ward. But he just turned a lap at 153.8 miles an hour.
Well, the next one isn't going to be that fast, Mike.
You got a fire on board. Car 35 to the pit. Copy, control.
Now that's race control, Mel Harder. Again, all the teams monitor that race control frequency.
It's a pretty good system.
One of the reasons right there.
It's a great system safety-wise. Ward might not have felt that, might not have realized he had a problem, but again, with that kind of communication, it can save him from a serious problem.
Dick Berggren.
Jeff Ward is in. A lot of smoke coming out of the back end of that car. They go right after it with the hose. A lot of smoke in the back of Ward's car. Tremendous smoke down here. He's killed the engine, or the engine has killed itself. One or the other. This was your leader until just moments ago. Tires are changed, but all the attention is here in the engine compartment. They've loaded it up with alcohol. Ward now coming out of the cockpit. Oh dear, this looked like his day. It will not be. Ward out. Engine bonnet off. Trying to figure out what has happened here.
Well, there's a lot of stress going on in the back of the car, but you can see how calm these drivers are. He calmly gets out of the car, not in any big rush or panic, and that's the mentality of a race driver right there.
There's nowhere else to go. What a shame for Jeff Ward, outside pole sitter, and he's led in 5 of his 8 IRL starts. Jeff Ward led twice today for 46 laps.
You see his head drop, a little disgusted. It's pretty frustrating when you have a car that's that good and you can't finish a race.
Scott Goodyear assumes command of this race. Last lap for Goodyear, 149 miles an hour. Moves into the lead. Buddy Lazier now second, and Davey Hamilton has climbed to 3rd. Eddie Cheever is 4th. Robbie Buell is 5th. 6th is Tony Stewart. 7th is Scott Sharp. Raul Boisel is 8th. Eliseo Salazar is 9th, and Donnie Beechler is 10th. Now for 11th, Ari Leyendijk on the left of your screen and Mark Dismore on the right side. Dismore, Scott Sharp's teammate, who came within 5 laps of winning at Orlando. They tried to stretch the fuel mileage, couldn't.
That's Leyendijk underneath. Slower traffic.
So Buzz Calkins.
Dismore finding his way around. Mark, you mentioned the teammate. He was very quick in the morning practice session. So that whole team had big smiles on their face before this race started.
Dismore trying to close and keep touch with Leyendijk, but working that race traffic allowed Ari Leyendijk to open up a couple of more car lanes. Now for 4th place, that's Cheever, that teal-colored car, and Robbie Buell in blue. You're riding with Buell.
Listen for the throttle. Listen for him to pick it up. Actually pretty smooth. No blurping of the throttle, so he just had to wait on it till it felt like it would go.
Oh, a little wag of the tail from Cheever there. Right about where you get on the power. Dick Bergeron is with the man who started up front, now out of the race, Jeff Ward.
Well, Jeff, you ran awful fast, but then there was all the smoke. What happened to it?
I think it blew an oil line or something, but it's too bad. We're really hooked up. Everything felt good. You know, we've been fast all weekend. It's just unfortunate, but, you know, it's just something you can't control, and you know, we'll be back next week. But I'd like to say hi to my family at home and wish my wife's grandmother to get well. So let's head back and get ready for the next one.
He gave her a good show, Mike, while he was out there.
Thanks, Dick. They're pushing Kenny Breck down pit road, trying to get him back in the race. If he runs a lap, he'll pick up a spot on the board. And if he runs 10, he'll overpass Jack Hewitt. Tight traffic at New Hampshire. Doesn't get much tighter than that. CBS Sports coverage of the 1998 Pep Boys 200 continues after this message and a word from your local station.
Back with you at the New Hampshire International Speedway. And after 68 laps, we've had 3 different leaders. Lead has been swapped 3 times, and cautions, 4 of them for 23 laps, have held the speed way down to 98 miles per hour. And 6 cars are back in the garage area. No word as to whether they have been officially had their numbers taken down or if they're going to attempt to get back on the track. Canadian Scott Goodyear continues up in front, but the story of the moment is the kid from Idaho, Davey Hamilton, who started 22nd here today, and he has been a rocket to the front, and he still continues to close by about a third, a second a lap on the leader. Let's go back to Mike Joy.
Thanks, Ken. Hamilton up to second place. Tony Stewart, after a pit stop under the last caution, has now come up for third. Buddy Lazier is fourth. Eddie Cheever is fifth. Scott Sharp, Salazar, Boiselle, Beechler, Lyondike, Dismore fighting to stay on the lead lap here.
Well, we're inside Davey Hamilton's car right here, and he's looking right ahead at the leader, Goodyear. So he's sizing him up. He's trying to figure out how Goodyear's car is handling compared to his, where the weak points are, where he's going to be able to try to take advantage of trouble right in front.
Down the back straightaway.
Jack Miller.
Yep.
Pits are closed. Pits are closed. Pits
And
are closed.
caution has come out.
Through. 51 drive through at 6-0.
So Dr. Jack Miller,
4 is your leader. He's on the front straightaway.
taking a spin.
Car 5 will be your
didn't
last
hit anything, I don't believe.
No, I don't think he hit anything, but he's caused some of these guys some stress here this afternoon, and now he just caused himself some serious stress.
Fifth caution of the day comes out at lap 75. And this caution, a bit of a break for Ari Lyondike, and we'll check on Mark Dismore to see if Dismore was able to stay on the lead lap. He had been battling there, trying to stay ahead of Scott Goodyear. So at lap 75, now at least one team has taken the strategy of a 2 pit stop race, stops every 67 laps. While we were away, Robbie Buell gave up a top 5 position to make his first of 2 pit stops, but Buell stopped under green, and there he is, but he has fallen off the lead lap because of that strategy, Tom.
Yeah, he has, but again, under the green, if they have to stop under the green, he can get that lap back without a problem if everybody stops under the green. But these yellow flag situations is a great opportunity to make your stop, even if you have to take one more. We'll see how it plays out.
That flag indicates that pit lane is closed until the field is completely caught up behind the pace car. The yellow light system that Ralph showed you earlier, that light comes on the dashboard at the instant of caution, and the light goes out when the Indy Racing League officials open up the pits. Most drivers have that display right between the rim of the steering wheel and the cross spoke, where it's right in their line of vision.
Right, and our onboard cameras, sometimes it's hidden by the steering wheel because of the angle. The driver can see it, but we have trouble with these onboard cameras seeing it. But sometimes it's going to be right behind the upper part of that steering wheel, and it's real tough for us to see that. And actually, some of the drivers would like that light to be a little larger. The bulb in the light is pretty small, and I think you'll see it bigger.
All right, now Scott Goodyear had his right hand positioned by a button on the dashboard. That engages the cruise control. Yes, these cars have cruise control, so they don't exceed the 60-mile-per-hour pit road speed limit. Goodyear is in. Davey Hamilton is on pit road. Tony Stewart, Billy Boat, Robbie Unser, Sam Schmidt, Scott Sharp. First, second, and third, top to bottom. Getting serviced with fuel and tires. Quick stop for Scott Goodyear. Oh, and almost a collision as Lyondike comes in, and they almost collide in the pit lane. That allows Davey Hamilton to get out of the pits first, followed by Goodyear and Tony Stewart.
Goodyear just barely beat Stewart out. All the yellow cars there together.
Boy, tense moment, Tom, with one car entering the pit, one car exiting the pit. That's a recipe for disaster.
Well, it is, but I mean, under these situations, having a speed limit in the pits has really been a big safety factor for these guys. But there's a lot of traffic in a confined area, and you got to be heads up.
Let's have another look.
Look at these guys. Now they're battling for position. They don't know where they came to a blend line. There's a line at the end of the pits that determines who's ahead of who, and there's obviously some disagreement right now between these three.
Here's Jack Miller.
There's Jack Miller right there. He gets sideways right in front of the leaders in lap traffic. Again, you can see the skid marks. There's probably some other skid marks, but I don't want to illustrate those.
Another look at it.
Again, Jack Miller in front, right in front of the leaders. He just gets on the throttle in the exit of the corner a little bit too hard. The chassis didn't want to accept it. He's locked it up. no real big damage.
And from Davey Hamilton. Look, 2 cars ahead.
2 or 3 cars up. Jack just exiting the corner, try to get after the throttle a little bit too quick, and again, the back end jumps out. Look at these 3. These 3 haven't figured it out yet where they want to be. Now,
well, they know where they want to be. I mean, Hamilton's the leader. The question is who got out of the pit second? And there's an IRL official stationed at the end of pit road to make that call.
Well, this is the big advantage of race control. Race control can come onto these radios now and indicate which one of these guys are in which position, and I'm surprised they haven't done that yet.
Dick Berggren?
There's a lot going on in Scott Goodyear's pit. He just came in. He made it all the way to lap 77 on the first tank of fuel. So he too may be on that 2 pit stop deal. The car is running absolutely perfectly in terms of its chassis. The transmission, not so perfect. He has to hold it in high gear to keep it in 5th gear. However, this morning they decided that they were going to have 3 separate high gear ratios, all very close, one to another. When he's in 5th gear, he's got to hold it there. The other 2 stay in just fine. So we'll see how all that works out as the day winds down.
Now let's show you what happened on pit road. Close call. The black and white car is Arie Luyendyk coming into his pit.
Well, here's Goodyear leaving, accelerating pass, and Luyendyk coming in, the black and white. He slows down abruptly. Oh, he slows down for Hamilton leaving the pits to try to find. He almost overshot his pit. Had to slow down abruptly, and a close call.
Luyendyk was only 1.1 seconds from going a lap down to the race leader at the time of the caution flag. It was a big benefit to Arie Luyendyk. Here's Ralph.
Mike checked with team manager Jamie Gallis for Davey Hamilton. Everything is great with this car right now. They just changed 4 tires and filled them up with fuel, made no chassis adjustments to the car. They think they got a really strong race car here today, as long as they can keep all 4 tires full of air.
Hamilton, Goodyear, Stewart. The top 3. Scott Sharp moves up to 4th place this round of pit stops. Scott Sharp's crew caught over 100 fish on Lake Winnipesaukee this week. So from northern pike to smallmouth bass. Kevin Bland, his crewmen.
Goodyear.
All right, Scott Goodyear's crew is a ranked national bass fisherman. They really took it out on Lake Winnipesaukee.
We just heard on Goodyear's radio that they might have a pit violation. This is going to be interesting. Goodyear might have to come back in for a stop and go situation. Let's see what happens.
Well, if that happens, would he serve that, Tom, after the green flag comes out?
That's the bad news. You have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
Here's today's Aflac trivia question. Which driver led the fewest laps and won an IRL race? Think about that one for a moment as we get set to restart the Pep Boys 200 here at New Hampshire International Speedway.
Green flag, green flag.
Back under green at lap 81 of 200. They fan out 3 wide across the front straightaway again.
Well, that's Kenny Brick on the white and orange car on the inside, going very slow in the restart. So I don't know what kind of problem Kenny's been having. I mean, his day started out bad. It's not getting any better.
Brick trying to pull up in the point standings by putting enough laps on the board. Goodyear behind Stefan Gregoire. And there will be drive-through penalties for car 6, Davey Hamilton, and 51, Eddie Cheever. That is the least severe of the 3 black flag penalties at the IRL official's disposal. You have to come down pit road at 60 miles an hour and drive through. You do not have to stop. But when you're going 60 and everybody else is averaging 150 miles an hour.
Yeah, on a mile oval, that's a lot of time and space. That's unfortunate. Davey's had such a good run. That's Davey Hamilton there, pulling down to take care of that penalty situation. Cheever's still out. He's getting the black flag. He saw it at the start-finish line, but Cheever hasn't acknowledged the situation yet.
Davey Hamilton cruising through.
When you get out there,
60
stand
miles
on
an
it.
hour.
The leaders are coming. They're about turn 3 right now. Let's go, go, go.
Now Hamilton's got to work to stay on the lead lap instead of contending for the lead.
Well, he's also got to worry about cold tires. They cool down as you come through the pit, so the team wants him to stand on it, but the driver's got to use his head.
Eddie Cheever now cruising through the pits, serving his penalty. The drive-by is the least severe of the penalties. They can stop and go the driver, stop and go penalty, or stop and a timed hold penalty.
Yeah, well, I guarantee you those two drivers think that those penalties are pretty severe.
Was that Scott Goodyear saying no fifth gear?
Well, I'm not sure which one it was, but somebody says they don't have fifth gear. But fortunately, they got 2 or 3 top gears to choose from. But sometimes, if one gear goes, it can be hard on the other stuff on the gearbox.
For more on Scott Goodyear, here's Ralph.
Well, let's check in with his crew down here and find out what the situation is. It looks like, is he out of gear?
No, we're all right. We're all right. We just went to 6th gear. We're okay.
And he missed 5th gear now. Is 5th gear gone?
Yeah, 5th gear's gone, so we're just doing the best we can from 4th into 6th.
Okay, he's got 4th and 6th gear, gentlemen, but no 5th gear. Remember, as Dick Berggren pointed out, all these teams are running with 3 high gears, and they do gear them up close to each other so they have an opportunity to choose. They want that car to hit the rev limiter just as they go down into turn number 1. And you heard crew chief Kevin Blanche saying they have no 5th gear. That means he has the highest of the upper gears in 6th and the lowest in 4th.
You have a 6-gear box, 3 to accelerate, and a choice of 3 gears to run with around this 1-mile oval at 150 miles an hour. We'll be right back. Welcome back to New Hampshire International Speedway. Trouble turn 2. 2 cars, 3 cars have crashed.
Car 1 is at the start-finish line.
J.J. Yaley was one of those, and he was collected
car,
by
you got 2 more cars
2
to come by.
others.
3's your last car, then 1's your leader.
6th caution of the day.
Pits are closed. Pits are closed.
A lot of damage. That's a heavy hit
Looks
right
like
there.
Billy Boat there. This is probably Donnie Beachler.
Billy moving around in his car.
Yeah, he got hit up high.
Yes, it is Billy Boat. A tough day for the pole sitter and our Texas winner.
This is J.J. Yaley getting out of his car. He got caught up in this whole mess.
Now, J.J. had just returned to the racetrack. They replaced the rear attenuator and put a borrowed rear wing on J.J.'s car, and he had just come back into the race.
Well, he wasn't really up to speed, so he could have been a factor in how this thing got started. But J.J. wasn't up to speed of the race at that point.
Indication is that Yaley took kind of a lazy spin up there in turn 2. Boat came into him, and Donnie Beachler, looking to avoid him, piled in.
Well, in these mile ovals, it's so tight, Mike, that you know, a small problem can lead to big trouble, and you can take a lot of people with you.
Look at the back of Yaley's car. You saw a new attenuator and a wing borrowed from Dr. Jack Miller's team. Let's see what happened. Look at the very top of the screen.
Top of the screen. There's JJ there. He's getting sideways, getting into the corner, and it's starting to stack these guys up. Oh, he just clips. Is that Boat that he just clipped? I mean, Billy probably thought.
Oh, that's Donnie Beachler piling in on the inside.
Yeah, Beachler was real late. Here's another angle. The green card's already backwards, spinning. This is towards the end of that situation. This is at the very end of that whole mess.
Donnie Beechler had a really tough crash in Texas where he ended up upside down in that fifth lap incident.
Again, this is after it's pretty well gone through. Yaley started that right here. Yaley starts it. He had a slow spin, went to the outside, and then they just started stacking up behind him, and the guys didn't quite catch it quick enough.
Been a crash-filled day here at New Hampshire International. 97 laps complete. We are 3 laps shy of halfway. Tony Stewart has become your race leader. We'll be right back.
Taking a look at your race summary here as you get down toward midway with 5 different leaders thus far, and the lead changes amounting to 6. Average speed only 100 miles an hour, way off the track record. And there's the obvious reason. 6 cautions for 32 laps in the first 100 miles of racing here at New Hampshire International Speedway today. That's the full story on this race as we come to halftime. It's been yellow fever from the very beginning, lap number 1 until now. One of the major stories here for sure is Scott Sharp up to 3rd spot. This is really his track. Scott, and let's take a look at Stewart taking the lead right now. This is Stewart taking the lead. Moving around on the outside, and Stewart puts the move on the high side, gets around Goodyear, and that got him into 1st place. As we were saying about Scott Sharp, this is the track where he won his very first race, and he had his biggest calamity. He rolled over twice in the 2nd corner, right where this latest incident took place. And Scott Sharp, currently in 3rd, drove his very first race on this track back in 1986 on the road course, and he won it that day as a teenager. Let's get back to Mike Joy.
Thanks, Ken. Tony Stewart has now led 15 of the 18 Pep Boys IRL events in the history of this series. Robbie Buell made up his lap, and Buddy Lazier had just been relapped before the yellow flag came out. So Robbie Buell, is, with that 2-stop strategy, is back on the lead lap. We're under caution at New Hampshire. We'll be right back. We're working the 6th caution of the day. Multiple incidents today. Tony Stewart is the leader. Right now, Scott Goodyear had just lost the lead to Stewart before the caution came out. Scott Sharp is 3rd. Ari Lyondike 4th. Eliseo Salazar is 5th. Davey Hamilton in 6th. Robbie Buell is 7th. He is also on the lead lap. Now, here is Billy Boat, the pole sitter, who is being taken to the infield care center. This is a mandatory trip. After any kind of incident like this in the Pep Boys Indy Racing League. There's A.J. Foyt, the car owner. His wife Andrea is also there. We'll get a report as soon as it's available on the pole sitter, Billy Boat. His car being hooked up, as were those of J.J. Yaley, Donnie Beechler, and Raul Boisel was also involved in that incident. Here's Robbie Buell coming to pit road. Now, apparently, Tom, they've abandoned their 2-stop strategy.
Well, they had to. With this many yellows, you know, you got to take advantage of this situation and maybe make some adjustments to the car. We'll see. I don't see anybody in the front wing, so they didn't change much. They could have changed air pressure. These cars are very sensitive, like most race cars, to air pressure, so you can make a major adjustment to the handling of the car just by changing the air pressure in the tires.
Our Aflac trivia question: who was the driver who led the fewest laps and won a Pep Boys Indy Racing League event? Would you like a clue?
I'd like a clue.
Look at the bottom of your screen, and whose car are we in?
There's a clue.
Robbie Buell. Did it here.
Actually, right here, last year.
Yep, led only 3 laps after Eddie Cheever's engine expired, and Robbie Buell drove to victory here at New Hampshire. Held off Stefan Gregoire. We're under caution at lap 106 as they service Eddie Cheever. And Billy Boat's car goes by on the hook back to the garage area. We'll be right back with you with the Pep Boys Indy Racing League on CBS. Pace car is in. We're set for a restart. Tony Stewart leads them down to the green flag. We're just past halfway. 110 of 200 laps. One was here next in line, Scott Goodyear. Second place car. Trying to reel in Tony Stewart.
This is onboard Sharp's car here. You can see his hand off the wheel. Looked like he might have been going for the gearbox.
He's one of the drivers who told us they expected to be trying different gear ratios, running fourth, perhaps fifth or sixth gear, as track conditions would warrant. Still runs that late apex line. He's been consistent all race.
Yeah, he has. The car, I think, has been good for him. He's been towards the front all day. Pit stops have caught him out just a little bit, but doing a great job. He's right there.
His teammate, Mark Dismore. And let's check with Ralph Shaheen and one of the drivers who was involved.
That would be Raul Boisel, who's just walked out of the infield care center. Raul, are you okay, and what happened?
Yeah, I'm fine. I think it start pit was spin at the end of turn 2. I went low. It was okay. Started playing Billy Boat, just went across, and I don't have a place to go. So I think maybe he tried to avoid guys in front too.
Boisel had a new sponsor, new paint scheme for this race. Mike Joy with Tom Sneva. Tom, a rash of yellow flag fever, some gearbox problems. What are we seeing today?
Well, we're seeing a mile oval. You know, it's a bull ring. These guys got to scrape and grab for everything they can get, and traffic's a big problem. Somebody makes a little mistake, and it magnifies, especially on a mile.
Had a little trouble getting this one going. Several cautions right off the bat. Cold tires, track surface with a different rubber buildup from the NASCAR modifieds that ran here at 11:30 this morning. Mike Stefanik, the winner there. He's a fellow who would look good in an Indy Racing League car. Let's have a look at the battle for fifth place. Salazar and Hamilton, they are not teammates, but they share the same sponsor.
Well, they're actually different chassis too. Salazar and the Riley Scott. Again, there's only 2 of them out there, and Salazar is doing a tremendous job today, especially after not having that much luck qualifying.
With Davey Hamilton, you're riding. I'm corrected. Robbie Buell held off Vincenzo Sospiri for the win here 1 year ago. Here's Dick Burton.
Well, the story on Scott Goodyear intensifies, Mike. You'll recall that earlier he had lost 5th gear in the transmission. That was the gear of choice. 4th is a little bit too low. The one above that, 6th, is a little bit too high. The crew has said, please try to run it into lower gear. They are afraid that if he keeps shifting back and forth, that he's going to lose one of the pins in the transmission, and that'll be kaboom, the end of the day. But they have left it up to the driver, who has just lost 1 spot. Goodyear now down to 3rd. He had been in 2nd.
Well, Dick, now they said the lower gear. That's interesting because the lower gear will turn more RPMs, cause the fuel mileage to go away, and might be a little harder in the motor. But again, do they think that's the easiest gear on the gearbox with the one that's missing?
And as you said that, we just saw him shift. So Scott Goodyear trying to pick a gear to run here. Salazar and Hamilton battle for 5th place.
Well, Davies had a tremendous race. Started way in the back, came right to the front, came to 2nd spot, had a pit lane violation, had to do a stop and go, or a drive-through actually, and he's back in the hunt. Didn't lose the lap, which is unusual for a mile oval. Still on the lead lap and going forward.
This battle is 7 seconds behind the leaders, and look at the rush hour traffic. Salazar slips underneath Buzz Calkins, and Hamilton closes right up.
And this is what can be fun, both fun and frustrating for a driver on these mile ovals. There's always something happening. You got to be on your toes. You got to be looking ahead, anticipating what these other guys are going to do before you actually get there.
Back up front, Tony Stewart works a little bit of race traffic. Diving on the low side there. He holds a 4-second lead on Scott Sharp. Stewart, a winner in Orlando, but has failed to finish 4 of the last 9 IRL races. Looking for a bit of the advantage. And here comes Hamilton down to the inside. Salazar holds him off. Salazar, at age 19, was a national champion racer in Chile. Came to the U.S. to race in the International Motorsports Association.
Again, this is a great job. Again, the Riley Scott, there's only a couple of them out there, and they've been struggling. They're in a development mode, and they're showing some strength right now.
Bob Riley and Mark Scott were late entrants to the Indy Racing League formula. Dallara and G-Force, the original chassis makers. Riley and Scott came along here
Use the traffic, get
late
by
in the
this
last
guy.
season.
You can hear him on board to Davey Hamilton. Use the traffic to try to get by.
7 cars on the lead lap, and 2 of them, Scott Goodyear and Davey Hamilton, looking for their first Pep Boys Indy Racing League win.
That's Davey, the second Reebok car on that line. It's interesting with traffic coming up right behind Davey is Robbie Unser. With a new sponsor today, Robbie Unser, part of the cheaper team, and Robbie's down a lap, but he's running as fast as anybody on that racetrack.
9/10 of a second between 5th and 6th. Now again, we stress these are not the same chassis, and these drivers are not teammates. They simply have the same sponsor. And the identifier, Salazar's car has the engine cowling, the top of it is orange. And that's the easiest spotting difference between the two aside from the driver's helmet. There you see Hamilton's is blue.
And Davey, with this since the last yellow, has maybe not been quite as dominant on the racetrack as he was earlier. So they might have missed a little bit on the tire stagger. Something has changed just a little bit that's causing Davey to not quite be as strong in this segment of the race.
Davey's best known for his success in super modifieds. He won the Copper Classic at Phoenix in '95, the Super Modified Racing Association champ in '90, and the Copper World winner in '89. Drove for A.J. Foyt last season. This year's moved on, but all day he has been one of, if not the fastest cars on the racetrack.
Well, he's fast enough to catch, but you know, it's one thing to catch another driver. It's another to try to get by. There's not much room out there.
Moves underneath his old ride, driven by Kenny Breck, who was involved in the first incident of the day. Hamilton won the Bud Classic at Oswego, New York last year for Super Modifieds. For more on Davey, here's Ralph.
Mike, this is Bob Nienhaus. He was in a coma when the race season began at Orlando. He was in the hospital during the second race of the year at Phoenix. The first race he attended was at Indianapolis. The team finished 4th, and he landed a major sponsorship in Reebok. Bob, is this team feeding off of the tremendous fight for life that you have here today?
We feel real strong about the car today. Davey's driving terrific. We had a wonderful pit stop. Unfortunately, we got that black flag because we went too fast on the exit. But we're coming on strong now, and we think we can make it through the field.
Mike, when you have a team owner like Bob Nienhaus, there's no way you give up just because you might be struggling in the midpoint of the race. I talked to crew chief, team manager Jamie Gallus. He says they're okay. They will find a way around Eliseo.
Well, this team has some great communication, Mike. Davey, on one of the later yellows, after the penalty, they talked back and forth with the team manager, Jamie Gallus, trying to figure out how they could have had the problem, how they could have had this pit speed violation in the pits. And Davey went through it. He said, I was on the button on the entrance to the pit, but the excitement on the exit might have caught him out. He didn't remember if he actually had the button down, and that's where they caught him, on the exit of the pit lane.
Tom, second place is closing up too. Here's Scott Sharp. Scott Goodyear is closing in on the second place car. We'll see if Goodyear can make the pass when we return. CBS Sports coverage of the Pep Boys 200 continues after this message and a word from your local station. "137 laps complete." Here is Tony Stewart, your race leader. Scott Sharp, Scott Goodyear running second and third. Now Scott Sharp is 8 seconds back, and Scott Goodyear is on the right side of your screen. He's on the trail of Scott Sharp as he was when we went to break.
Well, you heard from Tony Stewart's car. He said, I need a little help with Greco. Greco's running right in front of the leader, and he's saying, I need some help to get by. Greco's actually running almost as quick as the leader right now.
With Scott Goodyear chasing Scott Sharp. And Robbie Buell in danger of going a lap down.
You can see Goodyear fighting that wheel on the exit. You know, he's trying to hustle the car pretty good, and he's just right on the very edge of control. and he's having to really be gentle with that steering wheel.
For more on race leader Tony Stewart, Dick Berggren.
Well, Tony Stewart's crew knows exactly what's going on inside that race car. One of the crew members is sitting here behind a black screen, and in front of that black screen is a computer screen, and that computer screen has everything on it from the water temperature to RPM to how much brake Stewart is using to whether or not, in fact, he is on the throttle all the way. It's an amazing amount of information. They know more about what's going on in the car by looking at this screen than most people would know what's going on with an engine on a dynamometer.
The thing that we don't know is what the heartbeat is of Tony Stewart right now. That'd be a good one to have telemetry on.
There's Robbie Buell, and Buell is about to be overlapped by Tony Stewart to the inside, and Buell goes a lap down.
Sorry
the
about
1997
that,
winner being lapped by his teammate.
Just follow him. Just follow him. Keep going.
You heard Robbie say sorry about that. He felt like he might have held Tony up just a little bit. And he's apologizing to the rest of the team.
And Stewart trying to streak away. Battle for fourth place. Lyondike to the outside.
Davey Hamilton inside.
And Hamilton's going to get that spot. Out of turn 4.
Good job, Davey. Good job. You're the fastest guy out there. Way to go.
We heard that before?
Yeah, that's, and Davey's glad he's hearing it, but that's fun. It took him a while to get around Salazar, but again, Jamie Gallus indicating his driver is one of the quickest cars on the racetrack.
Tim Palmer is Davey's spotter. And you may also hear Jamie Gallus on the radio. They lap past Jack Miller.
P4, Davey. P4.
P stands for position, where Hamilton runs behind. Scott Goodyear in third, Scott Sharp in second, and Tony Stewart, your race leader. 6 cars on the lead lap behind Hamilton, Lyondike and Salazar. Robbie Buell's just gone a lap down. Then Buddy Lazier, Mark Dismore, Eddie Cheever, and Robbie Unson. Sam Schmidt running in 12th place, 3 laps back.
Hit.
And Waters.
Give me the same tires, exactly the same as what we got.
That's Tony Stewart we're hearing. They're telling him to pit. He said, give me the exact same tires that I had.
So Stewart will be in next time. That should hand the lead to Scott Sharp.
Watch your speed limit. Get it on the marks. Clear pit, clear pit.
That's Larry Curry talking to his driver, trying to get him calmed down and slowed down.
60 miles an hour pit road speed.
You can go to the end from
and
here,
he's joined
Tony.
by Buddy Lazier, and Scott Sharp is also
Dennis Weeks will be the most important guy here. He puts the fuel in. It's going to take him longer to do that than it will the 4 tire men, each of which has their own single wheel. They're not going to change anything. They can now go all the way to the end of the race. Boy, what a great stop. 12:20 for Tony Stewart.
And Scott Sharp stalls it coming out of the pits. He ran over an air hose. That held the car. He may not have stalled it, but he did run over an air hose, hit the brake. They removed it. And here's Sharp coming down pit road with fresh tires as well.
Well, that's just the beginning of the problems. If he ran over the air hose, they're going to call him back in and penalize him for that situation.
So Scott Goodyear goes to the front. Goodyear now with 7 seconds on Davey Hamilton. That's the lead first to second. Ari Lyondike moves up to third. And Eliseo Salazar to fourth. Robbie Buell is now fifth, and Buell is back on the lead lap. Here's Salazar on pit road. 4 tires of fuel. He will give up 4th place to do that. With only a single lug nut, the tires are long done by the time fueling is finished.
Well, especially later in the race, Mike, what happens is there's no tank pressure. There's not much fuel left in the tank, so it always takes longer towards the end of the race. The pit stops will get longer, number 1, and they're always slower with the fuel than they are in changing the tires.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. You'll get
3 weeks from today, CBS Sports presents live flag-to-flag coverage of the Pep Boys Indy Racing League. It's the Pep Boys 400K from Dover, Delaware, Sunday, July 19th. There's Larry Lyondike on pit road.
Well, that Dover-Delaware race, that'll be fun to watch. Cheever was there testing. He said it's like running around the inside of the salad bar. I just hope we're not using greasy Italian dressing that day.
Saturday night, fireworks from Daytona. The Pepsi 400. All the NASCAR Winston Cup stars will be there. The stars come out at Daytona under the lights. And you'll also see NASCAR Craftsman Trucks on CBS next Saturday from Milwaukee, Sunday, July 12th from Nazareth, Pennsylvania, and Saturday, July 25th from the new Colorado Springs Speedway near Pikes Peak. 152 laps complete as pit stops continue. Scott Goodyear is your leader at New Hampshire.
So in the 5th of 11 races for the IRL this season, down to the last quarter of this one, we've had 5 leaders today, 7 lead changes. Average speed is up a little, but there have been so many cautions, 6 for 44 laps. That average speed is way down, just barely 100 miles an hour plus. On the speedway at the present time, Goodyear is in front, Robbie Buell is in second. It is Stewart going to third. And Sharp, heavy pitted, falls to fifth. Hamilton back there in 6th position at the present moment. So we're just about set for the finish on this one. Can Sharp do it again? It's been his track before. We're going to find out very shortly. Mike?
Kenny's really hammering it. Scott Sharp just went into turn 3 abreast, passing lap cars. But he's got his work cut out for him. Robbie Buell last made a pit stop at lap 105. Buell has just taken over the lead because Scott Goodyear has made his final stop of the day. Eddie Cheever has yet to stop as well. He was last in at lap 77. So Robbie Buell, who spent Friday at Children's Hospital in Boston visiting with ill kids, as he does at every IRL event, takes a day out from his schedule to go and brighten up the days of a bunch of ill children.
Well, Robbie's done that for a lot of years, and it's a great program, and I'm sure those kids get a big thrill out of seeing Robbie and some of the race car stuff that he brings.
Tony Stewart is the 2nd place car, Buell's teammate, Team Menard. 40 laps to go. Eddie Cheever is 3rd, but has to pit. Scott Goodyear comes out of the pits in 4th place. Scott Sharp, the 96 winner here, is 5th, and Davey Hamilton is 6th. 17 seconds off the lead. But from second on back, these cars are all knotted within a 9-second spread.
Again, we're hearing on the radio, spotters trying to help Tony through traffic, trying to indicate where it is, how to get by it.
And here's Eddie Cheever, who has yet to make his final stop, we're told. He is 11 seconds off the lead and 4 seconds back of Tony Stewart, the 2nd place car. Now Davey Hamilton is the last car on the lead lap.
We saw a little signal by Eddie before we switched.
And there's Hamilton. He's run as high as 3rd today. And here's Ralph with more.
Well, let's start off with Davey Hamilton. They've made no changes on that car. Team mechanic is very happy. Jamie Gallus is thrilled with Davey Hamilton's car. Let's check in with Dick Bergeron with a pit stop.
The leader comes down pit road. Robbie Buell has won 1 time in 14 IRL tries. That was last year here at New Hampshire. The combination of tires he is about to get will determine whether he is fast enough to win it again this year. They've got all the tires on. It's the fuel that takes the longest. They've got a full load of fuel. Chief mechanic Charlotte Guerra says go at 13.06. They took a half a round out of the front wing.
Well, that stop.
Good stop, guys. Good stop. Good job, Robbie.
You hear the team manager talking about good stop, good exit. Again, that stop didn't have to be long. He pitted later. They didn't have to take a full tank of fuel, so it was a little bit shorter, a little bit quicker to get in and out of the pits.
Half a turn out of the front wing, Tom. What'll that do for him?
Well, that's an adjustment. It's a balance. He might have been a little bit loose. They're reducing the downforce in the front of the car, so he was probably just a tad bit loose, and they're just trying to get the balance a little bit quick.
All right, that makes this the battle for 4th place. Hamilton looking ahead to Scott Sharp. Here's Ralph.
Mike, the story on Scott Sharp is they loosened him up. He was so anxious to get back out onto the racetrack, he actually pulled the fuel line out of the car and away from the rigging. The team has to fix their fuel rig.
Hard to keep a driver down when he wants to go. Eddie Cheever is making a stop. Now Cheever will surrender third place with his final stop of the day.
Eddie gets a little graphic on the radio sometimes.
Is he out of fuel? The car sounded like it wasn't running, Dick.
It was not. The engine was cold when he came in, Mike. Eddie Cheever sitting on pit road. They don't have a starter motor in the back just yet. Yeah, they're getting ready now to try and fire her up. Cheever. No, it's running. It's not running. It is not running. They've got the pit stop finished, and they missed that it wasn't running. They got her going again. Long stop for Eddie Cheever with a silent engine.
19.7 seconds for Cheever as he comes back on track and gives up third place. Tony Stewart's our leader. Scott Goodyear is second. Scott Sharp is third. Davey Hamilton fourth. We should have had the final round of pit stops. We'll be right back. Welcome back to New Hampshire International Speedway, where 5 cars are on the lead lap to fight this out. Tony Stewart, Scott Goodyear, Scott Sharp, Davey Hamilton, and Arie Luyendyk. Here's the interval from Stewart. 4 seconds back to Scott Goodyear.
Well, look at the traffic. They're trying to get through traffic. That's a key to this racetrack.
And Scott Sharp is 6 seconds further back. He has his hands full of Davey Hamilton.
On the bottom, clear.
And then a long way back to Arie Luyendyk. Here is Scott Sharp. And Davey Hamilton had been right up with Sharp, but he had to work race traffic in the form of Robbie Buell. So it's about a third the length of the back straightaway between those two. Now here's Luyendyk in the black and white car, about to have Tony Stewart pressure him to put him a lap down. Here's Ralph.
Mike, the report out of Arie Luyendyk's pit is he's got too much battery voltage. Now, from what I'm told, Tom Sneva, that should affect the hydraulics of the car.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know if you get too much. Usually the problem is you don't get enough, and I'm surprised you have too much and how that can adversely affect the car, but it's a possibility.
Luyendyk is looking for his first top 10 finish since the season opener at Orlando when he finished 8th. Two-time Indy 500 winner. And Stewart to put the pressure on. A caution flag now would require Stewart to slow, and Luyendyk could come all the way around to get a free pass. But if Stewart goes on by, then Luyendyk is pinned 1 lap down, and you see him get the passing flag. That blue flag with the yellow stripe is a move over flag.
Well, actually, it's just it's a friendly reminder that there's faster traffic coming up. You don't have to move over. You don't have to do anything. It's just sort of a warning situation to let drivers know that there's traffic around them.
20 to go, 20.
As the drivers were told, 20 laps to go here at New Hampshire International Speedway. You're watching the Pep Boys Indy Racing League on CBS Sports. In on the finish, just 14 laps to go here at New Hampshire International Speedway. Look at Scott Goodyear work the wheel. He is just 1.3 seconds behind leader Tony Stewart.
He's closed that gap, Mike. He's brought it up from about 3 seconds. So Goodyear could make a run at Stewart before this race is over.
Down to 13 laps to go.
1 lap car separating first from second place. The second car ahead of Scott Goodyear. Upper left of your screen is the race leader. Here's the interval for you. It's now 1.7 seconds. There's Scott Goodyear in second. Scott Sharp is third. He and Davey Hamilton battling. Then Arie Luyendyk, Salazar, Lazier, and Buell. Here's Scott Sharp, and there's Davey Hamilton.
Davey's
third.
Davey's been closing the gap.
Third place battle. Billy Boat checked over at the infield care center. He has been taken to Concord, New Hampshire Hospital for observation after that 4-car pileup coming out of turn number 2. And getting a little closer at the entrance of every corner is Davey Hamilton.
Well, again, you can see the traffic in front of Davey, and he's sizing up Sharp. They both have traffic to negotiate.
Salazar just in front of Scott Sharp. Dick Berggren.
Well, Larry Curry is just talking to Tony Stewart coming down the straightaway. He's team manager. Can you hold off Goodyear?
Yeah, well, I think we're in good shape. We've just been getting held up by some lap cars, but when Tony's in clean air, he's great.
Let's go to Ralph.
Now, Kevin Blanche is a chief mechanic for Scott Goodyear. You're down on horsepower. I can hear the rev limiter. How are you catching him?
I don't know. If we had another gear, I'm sure we could get by him, but we're plenty out of gear. He's just driving his heart out right now.
Gentlemen, right now, it's all driver inside that number 4 making the difference.
Remember earlier, Scott Goodyear lost 5th gear, so he has a choice of running in 4th or 6th.
And again, they've chosen 4th. We talk about it being on the rev limiter. That's got to hurt the motor a little bit. It hurts the fuel mileage. Mileage won't be a problem because we've had so many yellows.
He's got to make it 9 more laps. You're riding with Davey Hamilton. The car right in front of him is 3rd place Scott Sharp.
Davey's right there. What's great about this series, Mike, is they've closed the gap. Some guys, maybe have trouble in the pits or whatever, but a lot of these cars run about the same speed, so it's really tough to get by people.
Oh, look what happens there to Hamilton. He comes up on Jack Miller entering the corner, and Sharp is able to slip away by timing the traffic just a little bit better.
Well, and that's the key. A lot of times you don't have any choice. You're going to catch the traffic at the wrong spot on the racetrack, and that can really hurt you.
Leslie Goodyear looking on as Scott tries to rein in Tony Stewart. 1.9 seconds is the margin, 1st to 2nd. And back to the 3rd place battle. And again, Hamilton is balked. This time, Robbie Unser just ahead.
Get it back. 7 to go.
Well, Robbie's been
go.
running about as quick as anybody out there with that children's drink thing, a non-spill situation. But again, this traffic can be really frustrating for a driver.
And that's what Davey Hamilton faces right now. Scott Sharp is driving away. Hamilton trying to get underneath Unser. He's got enough room. Now he's going to make the pass. 5 laps to go.
Well, Robbie gave him room. Robbie's running good, but he gave him enough room on the bottom so he could go ahead and get on by.
Tony Stewart, a 2-time winner in these last 9 IRL events. 2 wins, but 4 DNFs.
Up on Miller. Hopefully get him on the straightaway.
With Stewart the leader and Goodyear trying to close. There's your race leader. And the next yellow car, there's Scott Goodyear in 2nd. But look at the lap cars. Goodyear has to fight his way through. He has to get underneath Jack Miller in turn 2.
When he caught traffic right in the middle of that corner, he caught Jack Miller right in the middle of the corner, and that had to slow him up a little bit.
And then he'll have to get past Eddie Cheever, who is not one of the slow cars here. Meanwhile, Davey Hamilton's about to catch Scott Sharp again. There is still a lot of battling to go with 3 laps left here. Hamilton, that's Sharp dead ahead. That's 3rd place.
I think he's actually got Salazar in between him now. And
he does now.
If you remember earlier, Davey had a lot of trouble getting by Salazar a little bit earlier in the race.
And Sharp's pulled away once again. Hamilton could see him, almost reach out and touch him, but lap traffic has been a factor. 2 laps to go. Tony Stewart, Larry Curry, team manager. Team Menard, they've had a lot of success.
White flag, buddy.
But also a lot of races they failed to finish. He's on his last lap.
Now they're buddies. You know, it's amazing when you run up front, they always are buddies.
Yeah.
Up on Calkin.
Stewart sweeps to the inside. Buzz Calkin back straight away. 1 more car perhaps to pass before the start-finish line. Scott Goodyear has done everything to track him down, but he's run out of laps. Tony Stewart
buddy. Good
wins
job.
the Pep Boys 200.
That's your bad self.
3rd Pep Boys Indy Racing League victory for Stewart.
And you the man, I'm going to see you.
He now leads the IRL standings by 17 points.
See, Tony's pretty excited about this victory.
Winner at Orlando, winner last year, Colorado. Picks up his 3rd series victory. Scott Goodyear comes home 2nd. Scott Sharp holds off Davey Hamilton for third.
Spot, buddy. Excellent job.
Ari Lyondike is fifth.
Where do we go?
Eliseo Salazar is sixth. Buddy Lazier is seventh. Mark Dismore, Eddie Cheever, and Robbie Buell, the top 10.
I've been there before.
That was Robbie Buell trying to help Tony find victory lane.
Yeah, his teammate who won it last year. Telling him how to get to victory lane. A national karting champion at age 12. Stewart made a quick jump to USAC 3/4 midgets. On up to USAC Silver Crown, Sprint, and Midget divisions in 1995. Became the first driver ever to win all 3 of those championships in a single season. This year, he divides his time between the Pep Boys Indy Racing League and the NASCAR Busch Grand National Division. He'll move to Winston Cup full-time in 1999.
Well, not completely full-time. I think we're going to see him at Indianapolis next year at least.
I think so, too. John Menard making the trek to victory lane for the 2nd year in a row. Last year with Robbie Buell, and this year he'll join this man, Tony Stewart, in the winner's circle. Let's go to the winner's circle. Ken Squire.
Down here with Tony Stewart, 2nd win of the season. Finally throws her into neutral, takes off the steering wheel. You're trying to get in here and get a word with him. Looked like a flawless performance after the first half. First half looked shaky for everybody out there, Tony.
I'll tell you what, I can't thank this Team Menard crew enough. You know, Glidden and Johns Mansville and Callaway Golf, Simpson Race Products, all the people that are behind us. This car was excellent all day, and you know, we had great pit strategy. It was a driver's track today for sure, as slick as it was, but that's the way we like them.
And you take control of the point standings now in the championship as we look toward Dover, Delaware.
We want to stay there all year, so this is a good day for us.
Congratulations on a great race. Let's go back to Mike Joy. Tony Stewart, the winner.
Thanks, Ken. And a popular victory down there for Tony Stewart as Menard wins for the 2nd year in a row. Scott Goodyear is 2nd, Scott Sharp, Davey Hamilton, Ari Lyondike, then Salazar in 6th, Lazier, Dismore, Cheever, and Buell, Robbie Unser, and Sam Schmidt could run here for 12th place.
You got to give a little bit of a call to Davey. You know, he came from the back to the front about 3 different times, had a pit penalty that cost him dearly, and but a great showing.
Davey Hamilton moves up to 3rd in the points behind Tony Stewart and Scott Sharp. Billy Boat, Scott Goodyear, and Jeff Ward are the top 6. 9 lead changes among 6 drivers, 6 cautions for 44 laps. Scott Goodyear climbs out a tough ride to 2nd place.